Ugh. Okay. So, a lot of people get a little freaked out at a lot of these questions because they look weird, right? We haven't done anything with that with a decimal base and an exponent, right? It looks weird, but it's not, because if I'd written it this way, x to the negative 3 times x to the 5th, what would you do with those exponents? Add them. Why, Sam? Because it's the multiplication of the same base, right? Okay. Well, isn't that the case here? Aren't those the same base? So the only difference is we're not going to leave our answer as an x, because an x isn't simplified, is it? Right? Simplified means it's as simple as possible. And if I leave an x in an answer, that's not simple, because then I got to know what x is, right? So all we would do is add those up. So I would get 0.3 to what power? 2. It's okay, buddy. So, of course, that is 3/10 squared. And what do we know about an exponent and a fraction? It applies to both. So what do I have here, really? 3 squared over 10 squared, which is 9 over 100. Can I leave it like that? Sure. How else could I write it? As a decimal. And what would the decimal of 9/100ths be? 0.09. Ease bees lemon squeezy, yeah? Excellent. Number 2 looks freaky, right? But is it? Because what do you notice? There and there. They're the same base. So couldn't I do this question as x and x? Okay, so what would I do right there? Multiply. So it would be x to what power? Negative 8 times x to what power? 6. What would I do with those? Add them to get x to what power? Negative 2. Now, a negative does what to its base? It reciprocates it, right? So this, because of that negative 2, will reciprocate, right? So my thinking here, negative exponent reciprocates. Now, reciprocating x is a pain. We just move it to the bottom, right? But now is when we say to ourselves, but it's not really x, is it? What is it really? It's negative 3 over 2 to the negative 2, right? So now I reciprocate. What does that become? And this is where you're going to make your mistake. What does this base become when I reciprocate it? It becomes negative 2/3 to what power? Positive 2. Please notice the base stayed negative. Only the exponent changes. Why am I making a big deal out of this? Because on your test in 5 days, 25 of you are going to change that base to positive when you reciprocate it. Even though I'm making a big deal out of it right now, and I'm recording it, and I'm doubly making a big deal out of it right now, a bunch of you are still going to change that base to positive. No, the whole thing. So now, what does this mean? Where does that 2 go? Here is the next mistake you're going to make. Some of you still do not understand that negative 2 over 3, 2 over negative 3, and negative 2/3 are all the same thing. what happens to any negative when I square it? Now it becomes positive. So what is 2 squared? 4. And what is 3 squared? 9. Remember how I said at the beginning of the unit, somebody would say out loud 3 squared was 6? Like that was the exact example I gave. Thanks, buddy. Is everybody good? Okay, what's happening in 3? Anything weird? No, because it only looks weird, but it isn't weird, right? Because what do you notice? They're all the same base. So what do I do with those exponents on the top? 1.4 to the 7th over 1.4 to the negative 2. Now what do I do with those exponents? Subtract to get 1.4 to the what? There you go. Why is it 9? 7 minus 2 is 9. Now, some of you screw that up, and that's okay. It's just a practice thing. Yeah, right? But another way to think about it is that negative 2 allowed to be there? No. So where would it move? If it was in the numerator, it would move to the denominator, right? So where's it going to move now? It's in the denominator, so it must move up, right? So this really becomes 1.4 to the 7th, which was already up there. And then this has to move up. And once it moves up, what happens to its exponent? It becomes positive. 7 and 2 is 9. Do I care which way you think about it? Does it matter? No. You're either thinking 7 minus 2 is 7 plus 2, or you're moving stuff where it needs to be. Everybody cool? Okay. 4 is the first question that does every single thing that we did in the whole unit, right? It's got exponents, it's got rational exponents, and it's got all the same base, so we got to apply our exponent laws. Now, as soon as you see a fraction exponent, that means 2 things. It means we could write it in exponent form, which means we leave the exponents in there. Or we could write it in radical form. If I don't give you a specific instruction, do you think I care about which one you use? No. If I give you a specific instruction, you got to be able to do it. Remember, radical form is this one. X to the a over b equals b root x to the a power. So, doesn't matter which one we do, but because we're practicing, we're going to do both. What should I do with these 2 exponents on the bottom? Add. What is 1/3 plus 5/3? He waited patiently. 6/3. Yay. Now what do I do with those exponents? Subtract. What is 2 minus 4 over 3, or 2 minus 6 over 3? 7 equals negative 4/3. Can I leave it like that? No, why not? Can't have a negative exponent. 2 minus 6 is negative 4. So, this is really 7 over what? 7 over 1. And a negative exponent really does what to this? Reciprocates it to 1/7. And the 4/3 is down there. It's positive now, and I'm allowed to leave it. Everybody cool? Now, if I want radical form, I can change it right from here, can't I? Does the 1 change? No. What does the 7 to the 4/3 become? It's already positive. I want radical form now, what we did yesterday. Cube root of 7 to what power? 4th. Both of those answers are acceptable. When is the only time it matters? If I specify. Okay? Well, you're going to have other math teachers in your life. If the instructions specify, right? Sadly for you, you're going to have other math teachers in your life. I know that all of you are already thinking about the end of the year coming soon and, using up extra tissues at the tears you are crying to not be in a math class with me again. I know that. But that's okay. You can make up for it by remembering you now have 17 shopping days. Although I think April 26th might be a professional day. Huh? Next week, Wednesday, Thursday's early dismissal, then you got Friday off, then you got Monday off. I don't know when you guys ever are expected to go to school. But that's why this week seems so long, because next week is going to be like gone. I'm going to finish this sentence and it's going to be Thursday of next week. I'm just kidding. That won't really happen. But it was a little bit funny. Okay. Easy peasy. 2 seconds. Go. What's the answer? No, it is not 5. What is the answer to number 5? This is a good question because I'm going to talk about it in a moment. X to the, no, 5th over y to the negative 2. Now listen to me. On the test next Tuesday, in the instructions, it's going to say in bold-faced type, no negative exponents are allowed. And a bunch of you are going to stop your work there, even though no negative exponents are allowed. Oh, I finished it. You guys said x to the 5th, y to the negative 2, which is fine. That's the first step. The point I'm trying to make is a bunch of you are going to stop there. Even though the test says in boldface type, no negative exponents allowed. Some of you are going to leave negative exponents, even though I'm making a big deal out of it right now. Please don't be that kid. It makes me sad. I know you don't listen to everything I say, but I say a few things a lot. And I'm not such a robot yet that it doesn't hurt my feelings when you leave negative exponents. Okay? So this is not right. You fix it by moving the y. Everybody cool? In some questions, I would give you no credit for that. Like this question, I wouldn't even give you 1 mark for that because you only had to do one thing here, right? If it was a big, long exponent question and you left a negative somewhere, I might take away a half mark or something. But if it's this simple, come on. Right? Okay. What's happening with 6? Why does 6 freak you out? Because there's so much to do. But what is 6 really? It's really 10 over 5 and then a to the 5th over a to the 3rd, and then b to the 3rd over b to the negative 2. And if I gave you 3 separate questions, you could do those, couldn't you? Right? What is 10 divided by 5? 2. What is a to the 5th divided by a to the 3rd? That's a to the 5 minus 3, which is a squared. And what's b to the 3 divided by b to the negative 2? That's b to the 3 minus 2, which is 3 plus 2, which is b to the 5th. So what's my final answer? 2a squared b5. Not hard at all when you split it up. Oh, you guys have a blank there? That's weird. There's a floating 5. Okay, so good time here. You can see that on the original, there's supposed to be an A there, right? You're all aware in this era of computing that somewhere now in cyberspace is that missing A. Because I sent this PDF to the print shop to print your book, and then I printed this PDF into OneNote. So somewhere out in cyberspace, there's a missing couple of zeros and ones that represent the letter A. They're just floating out there. What should you do on a test if something like this were to occur? I would ask first, because if you put like an X there, it would screw it up. But let me ask you this. Let's say, for some reason, I have come across to you as scary. I don't know why that would be, but some kids, for some reason, feel me to be unapproachable. Even though I spend a lot of time at the front of the class begging you to come in at X block and lunch and approach me. That's neither here nor there. Let's pretend you're scared. If you do what Prab says and you just put something in there, I'm going to put an X there, I want to talk to him. And then you do all your work properly, right? Then, would I still give you full marks? Of course I would, right? But why would you do that? Because if you put an X there, it makes it more difficult, right? So please, ladies and gentlemen, misprints happen, right? I proofread on the computer. I don't proofread what prints because, stupid me, I trust that it will get to the printer. All right? So yeah, that's fixed now. Everybody can write a little A in there. Now, for the rest of these notes, if that happens again, do not let me do the whole question, you going, there's no way, man. Just holler at the beginning, okay? Holler. Holla. Like Gwen Stefani, but don't be a holla back girl. They're bitches. I went and saw the Gwen Stefani concert. It was really, really good. It wasn't as good if she'd been with No Doubt, because she was better when she was a rock singer, not whatever you call her now. I don't really know what you would call Gwen. What genre would you say Gwen Stefani sings in now? No, it's not wash up. It's not indie. It's Gwen Stefani. She's on The Voice. That's not indie, right? Indie bands don't go to Rogers Arena and, have 18,000 people there. That's not indie. Indie bands are playing to like 50 people in a club. You obviously do not like her music, David. Fair enough. Why? Does his opinion on music matter to you? Well then, why do you care what he says? Are you going to go home and listen to the music that you want to listen to no matter what David says? So tell him to piss off. I don't understand why you guys get so mad when somebody whose opinion means nothing to you says it to you. I mean, I keep telling you guys my opinions of the way you handle math class. It's not changing anything. You manage to ignore me just fine. Right? I don't understand. You guys can all ignore me like it's going out of style. But if somebody your age says, I really don't like your glasses today, you're, right? I don't get it. That's not what I meant. Kind of missing the whole thrust of this conversation. But that's okay. Okay. Anything weird in 7? Of course not, because it's all the same base, right? What are you going to do right there? Right. What's -5 times -3? positive 15. 1.5 to the 15th over 1.5 to the 5th. Now what are you going to do? To get 1.5 to the 10th. Now, technically, should we leave that? Technically, we shouldn't. But I did say to do this without a calculator, right? So, to do this without a calculator, that becomes 3 over 2 to the 10th, right? Which becomes 3 to the 10th over 2 to the 10th. Which doesn't seem like it would be a gigantic number, but it will be, won't it? 3 to the 10th probably doesn't even fit on your calculator. What is it? 59,000. 59,049. 59,049 over 2 to the 10th, which is another fairly large number. I think it's about 4,000. 10,000. I didn't do enough. What is it? 10,000. 1,024. Come on, man. Now, would I ever make you go without your calculator? 3 times 3 equals 9. Times 3 equals 27. Times 3 equals 8, no, not 84. 81. 1, 2, 3, 4. Times 3. 4, right? Would I ever make you do that? If it was without a calculator? Come on, Sam. Again, would I ever make you do that by hand? That's hurtful, guys. I'm not going to lie to you. That's just hurtful. Hurtful is what that is. All right. Number 8. Actually difficult. Okay? What do you know about that exponent and that whole base? Yeah, but if that wasn't 1/3, if it was just an exponent, where would it go? It would go to all of them. So I would have 8 to what power? 1/3. A to what power? 3 over 3, which is 1. Why is it 1? Because it's 3 times 1/3. And what would B be? BB. What would it be? It would be 6 times 1/3, which would be 2. So this would be A to the 1 and B squared, right? So I know it's going to be A, B squared. This is the problem, though. But it's not really, because what do we do with that? That becomes the cube root of what? 8 to what power? 1. What is the cube root of 8? 2. What is 2 to the first power? 2. So there's our final answer. Looks scary, is it? No. You left that as cube root 8? Okay. Let me say 2 sentences to you. Tell me which one makes more sense. Dude, you owe me the cube root of $8. Dude, you owe me a toonie. Again, they are both the same thing. You're correct. But which one is simpler? Which one are you able to immediately know what I'm speaking of? Lies. You're liars, and you're not even good at it. Simplify every chance you get. Okay? Or I'll start giving you your marks in exponents. Right? Okay? You got 96%. What is that? 2 to the, I don't know, right? Or you got 96%. Which one do you want to hear? Yeah. You guys are clowns. It's not a solid question. No, it isn't. All right. What are we going to do with 9? Same thing we've done with all of them. We're going to split it up, right? It's 4 over 2, which is what? 2. It's a to the negative 2 over a to the positive 2. What's that? You could write it as a to the negative 4, or you could remember that that is going to go down there, right? So it's going to be a to the 4th down there, right? Now what's going to happen with b to the 2/3 and b to the 1/3? You're going to subtract them. What's 2/3 take away 1/3? 1/3. Is that a positive 1/3 or a negative 1/3? Positive 1/3. So can it stay up here? Yes. Now, can I leave that answer? Yes, because that's exponential form, right? What if I asked for radical form? What would we do? What's the only thing that needs to change? The b, and what will it become? Cube root of b. Do we write the first power? No. Over what? A to the 4th. Is everybody good? Now, I respectfully submit to you that these questions, 5, 8, and 9, 5 days ago, caused you great grief. And now, none. What are you going to do with 10? Because 10 actually is a hard question. You have 2 options with 10. What are they? The A is missing again? Now there's 2 A's out in cyberspace. Everybody put that A in. Don't put an X. Oh, I already did. What are we allowed to do with that 1/2 if we want? We're allowed to apply it to everything inside. But if we apply it to everything inside, then I need to apply it how many times? Once to the 100, once to the A, once to the 25, once to the A, and once to the B. 5 things, right? Our other option, what are we allowed to do in there if we want? Simplify in there, and then we only have to apply that 1/2 less, right? Depending on how it works out. Right? We got 2 methods we could go through here. I'm going to go with simplifying in here first, which means I've got 100 over what? 25. I've got A over what? A to the 5th, and I've got only a B to the negative 1/2, which means since it's B in the negatives and it's in the denominator, where should it really go? To the numerator. What's 100 divided by 25? 4. What's this? A to the negative 4. So it needs to go down here, right? And B to the 1/2. Is everybody happy? Now all of that is to what power? Half. Now what do we know about the power of 1/2 from the very first thing we did on yesterday? I'll remind you by going back to it. What did we learn when we put 9 to the 1/2? It's 3. Because the power of 1/2 is the same as what? Okay. Is this a base? Is this a fraction exponent? Okay, so where should the denominator go? Index. What does the radicand become? 4 B to the 1/2 over A to the No, not negative 4 because it's down there. It's positive 4. Right? Everyone agree? Okay. That root applies to what? Everything. That's the square root of 4, right? The square root of b to the 1/2, right? Over the square root of a to the 4th, right? What's the square root of 4? 2. What's the square root of a to the 4th? A squared. And this is what? If I leave it as this, the square root of b to the 1/2, is that okay? Is that exponential form? I mean, is that radical form? Yeah. What else could I do? I'm going over a bracket. What else could I do there? Multiply. So is this also okay? 2b to the 1/4 over a squared. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. Now, is there something else we could do there? 2 to the 4th root of b over a squared. This answer is right. This answer is right. And this answer is right. I would accept any of them, which is why, ladies and gentlemen, the exponent test ends up being difficult for you. Because you don't actually know when to stop working. Is everybody cool? Okay? Everyone is good? Yeah? Okay. Let's look at this. Right now, what if this line wasn't there, what would you do with that? You would do x to the what? 3/2 plus 1/2. And y to the what? 2 plus -1. What is 3/2 plus 1/2? 4/2. Which is what? X squared. What is 2 plus -1? Y to the 1. Would I ever write y to the 1? Okay. The reason I erased this line is because in my 20 years of teaching, as soon as you kids see this, you start putting that -2 in right away. Right? How many of you would want to do that? Please be honest, a bunch of you should be putting up your hand. That means that -2 has to go in 2 places, right? With fractional exponents, right? If you simplify first, then how many times do you have to bring that 2 down? Only once, here. So this is -2 to what power? 2 times, what's y? 3. What's -2 squared? 4 times 3. 12. What's easier? That or this? I'm going to write out what you would have. -2 to the 3/2 times 3 squared times -2 to the 1/2 times, not y, 3 to the -1. Which do you want to do? That or that? Sorry, I'll change color. Green or pink? I want to do the green one. So simplify first. Yeah, you could still do that.
Like, no, like the x, like 4 over 2 is still 1/2.
And 4 over 2 is not 1/2. Nathan, 4 divided by 2 is 2. Okay? Everybody cool? All right. Now, Knowing what you know, how are you going to approach number 12? We'll simplify first. So, should I deal with that 3, or should I deal with everything inside the brackets first? Inside first. So I've got x to the 4th, yes? And negative x, what do I do right there? So it is, it's negative x to the 12th, correct? And that negative is part of the base, isn't it? Which means if the negative is part of the base with an even exponent, what happens to that negative sign? It becomes positive. So I have x to the 4th, x to the 12th, all cubed. What do I do with those? X to the 16th, all cubed. What do I do with that? X to the 48th. Now what goes in for x? Negative 2 to the 48th. In the actual answer, it's going to end up being positive, but we still have to sub in what it says. So what Satjot is saying is, isn't that the same as 2 to the 48th? Is it? Yeah. Now, the problem with 2 to the 48th, is it going to fit on your calculator? Nope. It's giant. 2, y to the x, 48. That means that 2 and that decimal is going to move 14 spaces this way. I don't know if you guys, I don't know when you do scientific notation anymore, because it's not in grade 9 and 10. I don't know when you did, when you wrote this, 2.1 times 10 to the 8th. You guys remember seeing that ever? Some of you have, some of you haven't. Because they've been messing with the math curriculum lately, that's one of the things that's kind of fallen through. And you see it more in science now than you do in math. So, if it doesn't show up in the calculator, what do? Leave it. That's your answer. Is everybody cool? All right.
You can do it either negative or...
Yeah. What? Which very first one? 11, 12, 12. Because that 4 only applies to what's right beside it. Okay? If there was a double bracket in there, if it was this bracket, x to the 4th, negative x to the 3rd, to the that bracket right there with that bracket would mean the 4 would have gone everywhere. Remember, brackets group. Okay? If a bracket opens and there's only one, right? So this very first bracket here pairs with this bracket here. This bracket pairs with this bracket. Nathan, what is negative 2 squared? Positive 4. What is 2 squared? Positive 4. If they both equal positive 4, then doesn't negative 2 squared equal 2 squared? That's why. Everybody good? 2 more questions, then I'm going to let you work. A sphere has a volume of that. Who remembers the formula for volume of a sphere? I bet no one. That, right? Okay. Where does the 425 go? In for volume. How do I solve this? You guys need algebra practice. I'm not bringing back surface area and volume. I'm bringing back algebra practice because our next 3 units require good algebra skills. How do I solve that? Okay, where would you start? So you're going to get rid of that division. How do you get rid of that division? I multiply by what? 3. Cancel, cancel. So what happens over here? Multiply by 3. So I get 1,275 equals 4 pi r cubed. Everybody's happy? Everybody's happy? Okay, what do you want to get rid of next?
4.
So I would divide by 4. You can't get rid of the 3. That's an exponent. I get rid of the 4. Cancel. What do I do here? Divide by 4. What is that answer? That's fine. What is it? 0.75 equals pi r cubed. Now what? Not move over the pi. What math is happening between pi and r? So what math do you do to get rid of it? Divide by pi. So what do I do here? Divide by pi. That's going to give me an answer. Now, here's where it gets crazy. That's going to give me a yucky decimal, right? You don't want to write out that yucky decimal, do you? Do I want you to write out that yucky decimal? No. So we're going to leave that. So now I have 318.75 over pi equals r cubed. How do you get rid of that? Not a square root, cube root. That gets rid of the 3. And if you leave me there, you would get full marks. Right? Because what am I trying to test you with here? Algebra. Not getting me that right answer. Does everybody understand the difference? The skill in this question is algebra. Once you get to here, what's giving you the answer? You or the calculator? Calculator. This is not calculator 10. Everybody cool? Now, if you wanted the real answer, you would have gone, or the number answer, you would have done 318.75 divided by pi, gotten that crazy decimal, and then cube rooted it. Now, in my head, I know that this is approximately, this is almost pi times 100, isn't it? Right? Pi times 100 is 314, right? So that's basically 100 pi over pi, right? What happens to the pi's? Cancel. So I'm basically looking for the cube root of 100, yes? Which I know for a fact is about 4.5. So if I punch this into my calculator and I got around 4.5, do I know I've done it right? Everybody understand? Okay. Let's try 14. Equal height and radius. So h is the height. It equals my r. And it has a volume of 18. So a cone is pi r squared h, right? Divided by 3. Now let's change it to what we know. Do we know the volume? What is it? 18 equals pi. Now r and h are the same, aren't they? So r squared, and then wouldn't it be another r? Over 3. So it would become 18 equals pi r cubed over 3. And then we solve it the same way. How do I get rid of the 3?
Multiply by 3.
54 equals pi r cubed. Now, in math class, how do I get rid of the pi? Divide by pi, divide by pi. 54 over pi equals r cubed. And my last step, How do I get rid of cube? Cube root. Math class answer? Perfectly acceptable? Gets you the A? Absolutely. Science class answer? No. Home Depot answer? No. How would we do that on our calculator? Cube root of 54 divided by pi, which is approximately 54 divided by 3, which is about 18, right? The cube root of 18 is a little bit less than 3, right? So I need my answer to be a little bit less than 3. Because 3 cubed is 27. Everybody cool? All right. Now listen to me. You're not going to believe me. It's not going to matter, but I keep saying this anyway. The next 2 pages cover everything we've done in this unit, but you have the answers. Are these next 2 pages for marks? No. You have the answers, right? The thing you do tomorrow, do you have the answers for that? Your review, will you have the answers for it? Is it worth marks? Yes. A bunch of you right now are going to start that review, even though I told you to do it in class tomorrow. And then you're going to ask me how to do questions on that review. Rylan has already heard the problem with that sentence. If you do some work on page 111 and 112, or 111 and 114, I can't remember exactly where the questions are, will you need to ask questions when you do the review? Of course not. Okay? Use the homework. It's there to make you better for the stuff that actually counts. Okay? You're in class for 20 more minutes anyway. Practice with this stuff. Okay? Just like we've done every other unit, Satchel. I give a lesson, I give you practice. When do you think the practice ends? When you get to the next page that has something new on it, which for you people is 114. You're on page 111 right now. Questions are on 111, 112. Answers live on 113. Oh, wait, no, I have answers right there. I have some answers right there, upside down. So the answers are all available to you. Is everybody cool? Do you have to do every question? No. But if you do every question, are you better prepared for the thing that is on tomorrow that will cause or count for marks? Yes. Preparation equals results. Everybody good? Go. I'm going to take a test.